You've landed inside the bubble with Harli G, a podcast for the superwoman. I am a mother, wife, and ambitious career woman who realized one day that part of me was unfulfilled. I launched this platform to help other women discover and walk in their ultimate purpose through shared stories of trials, fear, dreams, courage, grief, and triumph. No matter who you are or where you're from, there's purpose in your story. Insiders, Inside the Bubble with Harli G is sponsored by BetterHelp. As a partner of this episode, listeners can access the BetterHelp link located in the show notes to receive 10% off your first month of therapy with BetterHelp and get matched with a therapist who will listen and help. Therapy has been such an integral part of my purpose journey, and I'm sure it will benefit your journey as well. Go to BetterHelp, that is BetterHelp.com/inside the bubble to get started. This episode is also brought to you by Farmers Insurance. When was the last time you reviewed your insurance policy? Like who does that? Or when was the last time you could call your insurance agent directly with an emergency? Well, I was actually able to do that. 2 years ago, my garage caught on fire, and I was able to pick up the phone and talk to the one and only Austin Brummett on the phone immediately. There's nothing like peace of mind knowing that you are talking directly to the agent. So my friends at the Austin Brummett agency would love to hear from you and provide you with the same amazing service that they provided me. Give them a call at 678-402-8262 or email them at abrummett@farmersagent.com. Lastly, are you thinking about buying a car but dreading the process? I will tell you that's why I have a husband, so he can handle all of that. But Car Official is changing the game. Car Official believes the car buying process should be transparent, informative, and even, wait for it, enjoyable. Their experts are here to guide you, provide you with clear information, and honest advice. No fancy jargon, no pressure, just a helping hand every step of the way. Whether it's understanding your financing options, getting clarity on fees, or simply finding the perfect car for your needs, they've got you covered. Visit them today and see the difference for yourself at 770-627-4296 or at www.carofficial.net. Hello, insiders, and welcome to another episode of Inside the Bubble with Harli G. And in this season 3, we are speaking to individuals that truly, honestly are walking on that path to purpose and faith. And so today this young lady spoke at the anniversary party that we had last year. And when I tell you, people were hunting me down after she spoke because it was such a powerful message. And so today I have with me LaShunna Stokes, who's going to share with us a little bit about your journey to purpose and how faith has manifested itself on your journey. So LaShunna, first, tell us a little bit about you and what you do and who you are.
I am definitely a woman who serves myself first and then serves others. Professionally, I'm a business operations manager, but I also have something very incredible called Girl Let It Out that you know.
Yes.
And Girl Let It Out is really a community for women, a really safe space for women in the marketplace, but also women who are building personal brands. And we really just give women a safe place to just really let their hair down, to find support, to find community in a very authentic way. So sometimes we show up to these empowerment groups and they're mean girl clubs. That's not what we do. We allow women to show up authentically and just be who they are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And really just showing, you said that, but I think we had a conversation about this, but showing up the way that's expected.
Exactly.
Right? So it's like, oh no, I gotta show up, I gotta have it together. My hair has to be like this. I have to have this bag. I have to have this outfit on. I have to sit this way. And it's like, no, you, in your community, women are able to just show up. Just show up. Like, if you're having a bad day, have that bad day, right? But we're gonna support you. We're gonna elevate you. And so I think that is amazing that you are allowing women to have that space. And you talked a little bit the last time about your journey to establishing this community and how you were maybe a little bit resilient at first.
Yeah. I was definitely resistant to it. You get a lot of women in one room. Sometimes that can be very intimidating because there's this stigma in the empowerment space that women can't get along, that you can't find community. And the older we get, the harder it seems to make friends. And so I was just like, I don't want to deal with women and their attitudes. Like, I don't have the capacity for it. But whenever God calls you to something, he already gives you the capacity, or if you don't have the capacity, he will expand your capacity. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to get right into it. So my first question is, I'm actually going to tie it back to your community.
Okay.
Why? Why that purpose? Why do you feel like that purpose was given to you?
So I was looking for a space like that, and I couldn't find one that organically fit. And so whenever you can't find something, you can do a couple things. You can complain about it, or you can create the space. And so I created what I needed. And it just so happens that other women get to come along into a space that I not only needed, but in talking to other women, I found that they needed it too. And so it kind of found me more than I found it. And I think sometimes that's what purpose is. I think we spend a lot of time chasing purpose. I think purpose is not linear. Purpose is not a destination. I believe in different seasons of our lives, we have different purposes, right? You think about you having a child. Your purpose for your child when they were an infant is not your purpose in your child's life when they're a teenager. And so there came a point in a season in my life where I needed to embrace community. I needed to not fall into isolation, because that's very easy to do. I can get very comfortable in isolation, but I think you can go further faster in community. And so I was like, okay, I can't find it. I'm going to these spaces, but it just doesn't feel organic. It doesn't feel authentic. I know that there's something out there, but I haven't been able to find it, so I'm going to create it. Yeah.
And so how do you feel like that has nourished you as a result of creating this space?
I think I've met some incredible women. I think sometimes, we're told to get in the room, but we have to find the right room to get into, because the wrong room can actually taint your purpose. The wrong room can make you seek validation from people that you shouldn't be seeking validation from. And so it's allowed me to meet women who fuel me. When I get into this room, I may not even exchange numbers, but there's something about getting in the room with authenticity, with women who are ambitious, but they also are okay saying, I'm ambitious, but right now I'm in shambles. And I'm like, girl, me too. And we embrace and we cry about it. And when we leave the room, we feel strengthened. Iron sharpens iron. And so I've been able to be sharpened in those rooms as well.
And you touch base on your journey, kind of like how your journey kind of transpired, how you got there. You had some blocks.
Yeah.
How were you able to use your faith to overcome these blocks? You talked about your relationships with your parents, with your father.
Yeah.
Because more than not, other people have those same types of relationship. No two relationships are alike, but that's actually more common, right? To have. So how, for you, were you able to utilize your faith to overcome some of these obstacles, some of these relationship blocks that you had with your parents? Like, how? Because it's different when you're the child.
Yeah.
And it's intimidating to have to go and tell your parents, look, something's not right. This is dysfunctional. How do you say that to your parent?
I think it first starts with doing the work within yourself and being very brutally honest with yourself that what you went through wasn't okay. And I think I had to grieve the fact that I would never know what it felt like to be a little girl who can lean on her parents, who can cry on her parents. And so those experiences shaped my belief system. And then they started to show up as an adult. So now my belief system is you can't count on people. You need to be there for yourself. You need to have your back. You know, as a Black woman, we get told you shouldn't be independent. You shouldn't be these things. I don't want to be independent. You know what I mean? Like, life has shaped me this way. And as an adult, I've spent so much time having to reframe that thinking. So it first started with me getting very healthy, me getting very clear about how those experiences affected me, to heal from those experiences. And a part of that healing was being able to talk to my parents about it. And so in reshaping my belief system, it allowed me to say, all right, let me stop. How did this affect me? And now how is it showing up within myself? And so for me, faith is about having a fierce confidence in something or someone without infallible proof, right? And so my faith told me that it's all gonna work together for my good. So I look at it in the way of we are like triune beings. We are body, we're soul, and we're spirit. And so as believers, I think we focus so much on our spirit that we forget our soul. Our soul is comprised of our mind and our emotions. And sometimes our faith in our spirit is good, but our soul is sick. Because of our experiences in life, it has affected our emotions. So now my emotions are fighting against my spirit. And I believe that God cares about all three. Sometimes we hear things like, God doesn't care about your emotions. You just need to pray about it. Sometimes you're praying about it, you're fasting, and it's not working. And it causes you to be bitter with God, but it's because you're trying to do spirit work and not working within your soul. And so I had to go to my soul. I have to be led by my spirit. God doesn't want me to just leave my soul in my body. My spirit needs to lead. So my spirit, which is connected to God, had to speak to my soul and say, it's all going to work together for your good, reshaping your belief system. You're not going to always think this way. You're not going to always not be able to create community and connect with people because of the experience that happened. My spirit also has to say, even though you may not have that experience with your parents, God has always told you that I'll never leave you and I'll never forsake you. I'll never abandon you. Because of the experience that I went through with my parents, I now see God as someone who would abandon me. And so when I'm reshaping my belief system, again, making sure that the faith that is in my spirit is permeating to my soul, is permeating to my body, is leading it. It was about taking those things that I say all the time and allowing it to heal my emotions. And so I think sometimes we can quote scriptures. We can even pray about it. We can fast about it. We can do everything that we've been told to do. But until we reshape our belief system, allow our spirit to lead us and to infiltrate, let our spirits infiltrate our souls, then we'll never really truly be healed.
Whew. That was
a lot.
That was a lot. That was a lot. But I like how you were able to speak on the spirit and the soul, because I think, yes, we know that we have to nourish our soul and we have to feed, like, we know that, but we tend to kind of push that to the side and go straight to the spirit. Yeah, or some people don't even know that they're two separate things.
Right.
They think they're doing the spiritual stuff, so that automatically translates to the soul stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes we use our spirituality as a coping mechanism so we can avoid the thing that we're feeling in our emotions and our mind. So then we tell people stuff like I said, keep praying. You don't have enough faith. No, I have faith, but my soul is broken. I'm emotional about this. This experience has made me depressed. I'm anxious. I'm worrying about every person in my life leaving me. So now I'm not going to make those connections. And so we start to use our spirituality to cope, and we're not being real with ourselves. You can use all the scriptures in the world. You can use all the affirmations in the world. But until you face the fact that you were hurting, until you face the fact that hurt me and I'm not over it, and I'm not getting over it in 2 days, and I've seen my therapist and I'm working through it, but I'm still bitter and I still want to cuss everybody out and I didn't deserve it, until you get brutally honest, you can't really move forward. You can't use spirituality as a coping mechanism to avoid being real with yourself. Yeah.
So you go through that process of healing, and now you're having a conversation with your parents.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
You failed me. But I've done enough work to forgive you for it. And so now you got to forgive yourself. And so most of the time what a parent will say is, well, I did the best I could. But the truth is your best wasn't enough. And so it was important for me not to fall into that empathetic space to say, oh my God, I understand. While I understand it, it was not enough for me. And it affected me to the point where I'm now an adult having to uproot it. We can only move forward when you're able to say, you know what, my best wasn't good enough. But then this is why. So what happened with my parents, it took a lot of conversations. It's been quite a journey. But they were able to say, you know what, it wasn't enough. And the reason why is because I didn't even get enough from your grandparents. So I didn't even know how to give you the best of me. And so that's where the real healing comes from. Sometimes parents have to step back and say, I did do the best I can, but then let me open up to you about where I am and where I was. And so that has probably been the most healing part for me, is healing and then allowing myself to be there for my parents as they trace back and heal themselves. That's how we heal generations. So, you know, we're so focused on building generational wealth, but what about generational well-being and healing?
Yeah.
Those things are important too, because we'll be wealthy financially, but then we'll still be sick. We'll still have, you know, the don't tell anybody our business. You know, we're not healing. We want to be rich and healed, you know, and so that has been very important for me.
How did you discover this purpose?
I told you it found me. I wasn't looking for it. I wanted to do something totally different. So I've always been very passionate about speaking to kids. Like, I'll go to schools and I'll speak to kids because, you know, right now you have kids that are in elementary school hurting. And I always felt like my purpose was going there and stopping it, planting seeds before they do become the adults. And that's a part of it. But then, like I said, I was looking for a space, a community, couldn't find it, and ended up creating it. So God kind of blindsided me with it. Because if he would have told me, I probably would have, you know, prolonged it for a long time. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Right.
And I don't try to make it right. You know, I'd be like, God, I know you want me to do this, but I'm not ready right now. I will be soon, maybe, but not yet.
Wow.
Yeah. So he got to sneak attack me to the point where I got to say yes. It's like, wait, I'm saying yes. I ain't even mean to say yes to this.
You got to sneak attack.
Yeah, why are all these women in a room in this event? And I don't know. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
I love that piece. He has a sneak attack of me. So how do you think fate plays a role into purpose?
I think it plays a role because it's what keeps you from putting your purpose down when it's hard.
Listen, I'm just gonna throw all the
Yeah, I think that's where it really comes into play, because I think there's like ebbs and flows to purpose, where you're like, yeah, you're riding a wave, everything is hitting, you know, people are showing up,
and when faith is rolling like that, you like, listen, faith is purpose is great.
Yes,
you know,
yes,
I'm all about this purpose thing.
I'm
and
good.
then he hits you.
And then it hits you. And you wanna just throw your hands up and be like,
no.
I'm not doing it. I don't want the responsibility. I don't want the warfare that comes with it. I think that's where that, like I said, faith being that confidence without infallible proof. It's like, I don't have proof that it's gonna work out. But that's when that faith comes into play and says, I know you want to give up. I know you want to be like, y'all got it. But that faith comes in to say, but you are made for this. You are made for it. And no one else is going to do it. You can take your time, because I think we think that we can't take time off. Sometimes you need a chance to breathe. And it's okay to be in faith and say, I need to step away for a second to recollect, but my faith allows me to come back to it and not abandon my purpose. Yeah. When it's hard, sometimes it gets hard. Sometimes it is ghetto. Sometimes, it's those times when you feel like I got it.
Yes.
Like those things that used to make me anxious don't make me anxious anymore. I'm good. I got it. And then something hits you and you want to lean back on the unhealthy patterns and behaviors that you would use to cope with it. And God says, nope, use your faith. That's when faith is.
You said what now?
Yeah. I don't want to use faith.
I don't understand the assignment.
Yeah. I want to cut everybody off. I want to go into isolation. I don't want encouraging words.
No.
I don't text me Bible verses. I already know what the word says. But I think for me, faith keeps me from not abandoning my purpose when I want to walk away sometimes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So has there been a time where you were just like, no?
Yeah, all the time. All the time. Sometimes when things don't go the way I want them to go. Sometimes when it seems like there's not enough money there. Sometimes I'm just tired. Sometimes I don't want to deal with people's personalities. Sometimes people need help and they want you to help them, but then they don't follow the instructions. And it's just like, God, they can do what they want to do. Yeah, they can do what they want to do. Okay. But it's like, no, sometimes I just want to do normal stuff. And I want to just watch TV all the time and have money and not work. And, sometimes I just want ease.
Yeah, you want easy.
Yeah, and sometimes the thing that sucks about that is sometimes I don't do things that God tells me to do because I know that it's not going to always come with ease. And because, again, going back to how life experiences shape us, I know that sometimes warfare comes with certain things. And I'm like, I'm not even going to do it because I already know it's going to come with something. So instead of deal with that, I would rather just sit back. And that's a lack of faith. Because God is like, what you're telling me is that the thing that I'm giving you, you don't trust me to see you all the way through. And so I have to be like, okay, God, it's always me. It's never God. I never go to God upset with him, thinking it's him, because it's never him, it's me. It's always me. So I always go to him like it's me, but show me the deeper root into why I feel like it's okay to not be obedient. And then that turns into rebellion. That's in me. That has nothing to do with God. God is always showing himself faithful. He has never left me. He has never abandoned me. Whether I do it all right, whether I get it all right, whether I'm at the mountaintop or the valley, he's always promised me that he'd never leave me. And he's always shown me that he would never leave me. And so for me, one of the things that is really helps to ignite my faith is a memory. Because sometimes you don't have the words to pray. And sometimes you have to just get a memory of the last time you were in a dark place and you thought it wasn't going to work out. And God shows you that I got it. God is not afraid of hard times. God is not afraid of a budget. God doesn't need your job. God doesn't need your family. And so sometimes I just have to get a memory that the last time I was at this very place, God showed me how faithful he was. So what I'm facing today will literally be my testimony tomorrow, because I faced a lot in my life, and God has always turned those things into testimonies and allowed me to live to tell about it. And so he didn't bring me this far to drop me off and leave me now. And so sometimes it's just sitting, and whenever God promises me something, I write it down, because there are times where it's hard to believe it. There are times when I want to give up, and I go back and read what he promised me. And then I start to realize how many of those things have come to pass. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, all right, God, you got it. You faithful. You faithful. So I can't even play you like you make kids that you don't take care of, mm-hmm. because you've shown yourself faithful every time. You know, like, human beings will let us down. People will walk away from us. But God is, we can bring it up. You know, you get into an argument with somebody, like, I'm always there for me. You like, well, in 1998, when I needed you to do X, Y, Z.
You count down to the hour and the minute you have that conversation.
Yes. But sometimes God poses questions to us. When have I left you? When did I give you something and I didn't make good on my word? And you just have to sit there and be like, never. And so it's like, just trust me. Just trust me. It's easier said than done when we try to do it within our own strength. When we say, I'm relinquishing control, however you want to do it. If you don't want to give me A, B, C, D, just give me B, all right? Because, just give me B. We like to see it.
I'll settle for that.
Yeah, we like to see it. And if we are honest with ourselves, we're controlling. Yeah. We want God to do it how we want to do it.
When we want,
how we want. And you need to show me ahead of time what the outcome is. But that's not faith.
Could you imagine his face when we tell him that?
Yeah, he probably laughed, though. I know he laughs at me. He's not moved by my unbelief. He's not moved by it. He's like, I know you. But I also know that I have to give you small things to think about and small glimpses and memories to just ease your little mind. But I'm not going to give it all to you, because if I do, you will never learn how to walk in the faith. And there are some things that God has for us that we can only walk through the door if we learn to strengthen our faith.
So can you share an experience that you went through that you felt tested your faith?
Marriage, right? Mm-hmm. So I have a desire to be in an extremely healthy marriage. And I've had relationships, I've dated, but it just doesn't, they haven't been like super traumatic or anything, but it's like, is this it? Is this the one, right? And so God gave me a word through someone else that like, hey, your mate is coming and all these things. And I was like, God, I don't believe you. I have so much faith in so many things, right? I am what you call a solitaire in my family. Everybody calls me. I know if they call me with something and I pray about it, God is going to do it without the shadow of a doubt. But there's something about believing for a mate that I can be authentically me. I can be extremely vulnerable with. They will accept every single part of me that I am really struggling with. And he said to me, just trust me. And I was like, I don't believe you. I don't even know why I don't believe you. So let's get in this therapy. Let's uncover this. Let's really pray about it, because I think you can have a healthy marriage but still not trust your spouse to be 1,000% vulnerable. And I don't want that. I don't want that. There is not one relationship in my life where I am unadulteratedly 1,000% vulnerable. I'm extremely compartmentalized, everyone gets a certain part of me. There is not one person who has gotten every part of me. So then it's like, am I capable of it? Or will I have someone who makes me feel safe enough to do that? And so I've struggled to just really believe for that. Because my fear is that I will get married and operate the same way in my marriage that I operate with every relationship in my life. Yeah. And a lot of people easily say things like, oh, that's not going to happen. And I'll ask them the question, how many marriages do you know where they not only know each other, but they feel 1,000% safe to uncover every part of them with their spouse? It doesn't mean that they have a bad marriage. It doesn't mean that their spouse is a horrible person. But I don't know many. So that's something that I continually just work through, just really believing for, And again, when you've experienced things like rejection and abandonment, even when you've healed from them, if you don't have the right person that you're partnered with, you can be triggered. And I don't want to go back to any unhealthy patterns and behaviors. Yeah.
That is real.
Yeah.
That is real. And for you to be honest about that.
Yeah, we need to be more honest about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm very self-aware. I can't walk around and act like that doesn't, but like I want a partner, but I want the right partner. I know that with the right partner, the next step of my life, I'm going to be a woman I couldn't even have dreamed of being. But having the wrong partner can derail it.
So my question is, does having the wrong partner scare you more, and which leads you to believe that, leads you to have that doubt in finding the right partner?
I think I'm more afraid of being alone than having the wrong partner. I will not marry someone that I don't feel safe with. I don't care how old I am. I don't care if I'm 45. I'm not.
First of all, 45 is not old.
It's not. But it's kind of older when you think about being a successful Black woman, right? 45 and single. I mean, yeah, it's happening more and more now, but I'm not okay with that. I don't want that to be my story. I don't.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm just saying, like, I'm 45.
Yeah. I don't want, like, women, like, we do our thing. Like, I'm not at home crying in a bed because I'm single, but I do feel like there are parts of me that are untapped that my partner is going to tap.
He's going to be able to help you.
I look forward to several things about being married. Like, I don't want to worry about why my tire pressure light is on. I don't.
The tire pressure light.
Yeah, it's ease. And my love language is acts of service. So, like, those types of things would just make my life so much easier.
Listen, my husband knows. This is your job, sir. What's driving you to hone in and help you get over that fear that you have, or that, like, is there somebody really out there for me? Like, what? Therapy.
My therapist, I think for me, therapy is about, you have to be so careful about the wisdom that you take from people and who you lend your ear to. And so it's important for me to have perspectives from someone who's non-biased, for someone who's, don't get me wrong, it's great to have community in your girls, but sometimes your girls be struggling too. And I don't need you in my ear contending with what I already have going on. And so my therapist is able to give me wisdom. And then I spend quiet time with God to just hear from him and allow him. Sometimes it's not me praying. It's just about him just soothing that fear in me to say, I got you. I understand why you feel the way you feel, because I think we look at God as like this person who's looking over your shoulder like, oh, you didn't get that right. Oh, you don't have faith for that. He's saying, no, let me show you that I'm here. I'm near. And I want to tell you what I have in store for you, but I want you to go through this so that you can, again, have a testimony for it, so that I can train you in faith. I can't train you on something that you don't struggle believing me for. I gotta train you in the area that you like, God, it's kind of shaky. What's going on? Yeah. And so one thing that I've learned about God as a father is that he wants to soothe us. He's not like, well, why aren't you believing for that? He's like, I get it, but you remember what I told you, revisit that. And so I've learned God even in a new way through even my unbelief. Yeah. Because we try so hard to rush through that process of, well, I'm not believing or I'm not asking God questions, and we try to rush that process when God is like, no, let me show you this other side of me. Let me show you that I'm such a loving father who's not just looking at you for everything that you get wrong and criticize you about what you didn't do right, but let me celebrate you for the things that you have done right. And so that's the thing that I love about God, is that I can spend quiet time and he affirms me, so.
And that is so important, because I think we, like you said something about rushing the process, and we're very solution oriented human beings, right? We want to get to the goal, and it's like, but then we know that when we get to the goal, there's going to be another one, and then what? And are you going to operate the same way you operated? Where was your growth in that process, right? And I read something actually popped into my timeline earlier this week that I had posted years ago, but years ago it didn't resonate like how I just read it. And it says, grow through what you go through. The growth stretches you. The growth is not pretty. The growth is hard. All the things, right? And I'm just like, but it resonated so differently when I read it this time than when I first saw it. And when you talk about the process, that's what resonates with me. It's like that growth that happens when you're there, when you're going through the process.
It sucks. It sucks sometimes. It does. It's almost like, have you ever been through a bad breakup and you're like, you can't eat, you can't sleep, and you just think you're never gonna get over it until you get over it, and then you be like, why? But when you come out of it, you can appreciate it.
Yeah, you can. It still hurts though.
It does.
How does faith impact the way you show up?
I think faith impacts the fact that I even show up. Because sometimes I don't want to show up. I think faith is what makes me show up. Yeah, for sure. And it allows me to show up authentically. It allows me to show up in the way that God has called me to show up and not conform to anything else. I get to be who I am, knowing that I am enough when I show up. And that comes from my faith, knowing that God made me exactly the way I'm supposed to be. And it also allows me to show up knowing that I'm not for everybody. There's people that are attached to my voice, and there are people who aren't. And unless I show up with faith, I can get derailed and discouraged by the people who don't attach to my voice. So faith allows me to be very clear about how I show up, why I show up, and who I show up for.
So have you ever wanted to show up for something, but your faith or something said no?
There are rooms that I've wanted to be in where God is like, that's not your door. And I'm like, but God, this could be a really good door. And he's like, nope. I always will eventually see why it's not my door.
Yeah.
And just trusting God that his thoughts are not my thoughts, his ways are not my ways, because they're higher than mine. So he sees what's on the other side of that. And so my faith has allowed me to say yes when I need to say yes, but also say no when I need to say no. And be okay with it and not agonize over the fact that I had to say no.
So that's a part that honestly I struggle with. It's like, yeah, I know I'm not okay, so you didn't send me there. Okay, I'm disappointed. But then I struggle with, but why? But why couldn't I go there?
Yeah.
I'm struggling with the peace afterwards.
Yeah.
I struggle with that oftentimes. It's just like knowing that wasn't meant for you, and you have to be okay with that.
Sometimes I ask God for context. There are people that God has just kind of nudged me and been like, and sometimes I'm like, God, give me some context, like spill the tea. You know, and sometimes he will.
Yeah. But I'm like, no, but I want to know though.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, no.
No.
Was there a time when you felt like you struggled with your faith?
This sounds crazy to most people, but I would probably say no, only because God trained me in faith as a child.
Okay.
And because I truly found God early, one of the things that has carried me and I've been able to stand when I should have fainted is my faith. And so I believe that God can anoint you for stability, because the places that God has sent me, and even being in the family that I am, he knew early on that if I didn't have faith, I wouldn't be able to walk out what I needed to walk out. Because there are people who have been through the things I've been through and killed themselves, lost their minds, turned to drugs, alcohol. But it was my faith. I always tell people, when people are like, oh my gosh, you're so different, it's only by the grace of God. I could be a totally different person. There are times where I've wanted to be a totally different person. Mm-hmm. But when God really truly says that I knew you when I formed you in your mother's womb, he had a purpose for me, and he met me early so that I would have that faith to be able to withstand the fire and the things that I've been through. And so I think because I learned that early on, it kept me throughout up until this point. I never wanted to walk away from God. But that's because I truly know that he is my source. And without him, I will not make it. Mm-hmm. You know, there are things that I go through now. We always talk about the battles that are external, but there are some battles that I go through internally that never make it to the surface. And without God, I would literally lose my mind. I would be in my bed with the curtains closed, depressed, not being able to function. But when something hits my life, the first thing I lean on is my faith. I always know that if I don't have anything else, I have my faith. Whether, again, I'm in the lowest of lowest, I know that God is going to pull me out of it because I've seen him do it. I have proof. You know, people say like, well, how do you know God is real? It's like, how do you know the Bible's real? I'm like, I don't, but I believe it and I can show you some proof. We all have some level of proof, and I know without the shadow of a doubt. I went through a really rough week last week. If I didn't have faith, I don't know, I wouldn't be able to sit here now. It's literally sometimes faith that almost picks me up when I can't even get up. And so, has there been a time, I can't think of a time where I've been like, this faith stuff doesn't work. I've had the thoughts, because the thing is, the enemy fights us with that. But you have to fight him with faith. Again, bring up the memories. Remember when you said that last time that God wasn't going to come through? He did. Mm-hmm. You know, and he usually fights us the hardest when we're tired. So we have to be more proactive than reactive. You can't wait until you're tired to try to fight. You got to keep yourself alert at all times. And so that's where faith comes in. And so I try to keep myself on alert, because I know when I get tired, whether it's mental, emotional, spiritually, it brings my guard down. And if I don't have faith, I'm going to lose the battle.
Have you ever questioned him?
Yeah, but I ask him questions. I don't understand this. I always go to God like this. God, you're always right. You're always right. I know you're always right. But can you give me context on this? And sometimes I want you to do this, but since you told me you're not going to do this, can you do this and this? So like in 2020, I lost my grandmother, extremely close to my grandmother. My grandmother raised me. If it wasn't for her, only God knows where I would have been. And she got really sick. She went into the hospital and I said, God, listen, I had this inkling that like her time was, I mean, my grandma's 92, you know what I mean? She's 92. She's lived an amazing life. But she went into the hospital during COVID. And I said, God, listen, I have a sense and feeling that her time is running out. But this is what I'm asking you. One, do not let her pass away in the hospital alone. Because during COVID, don't let her do that. And please allow her to live into her birthday. And God granted those. Now, I could have said, God, let her live. Let her live. God, let her live. I mean, there's some lives. Like, my grandma's 92. Like, at some point, she's going to pass away. But it's like, I know that her time is nearing. But I'm asking you to do these two things. Give me some context. Why is this happening? Because also, there are some things that we can look at with our natural eye and we'll see it a certain way. But we have to ask God for discernment and context. Yes. Like, help me to understand this. I don't really get it. Yeah. Yes. And so I don't ever really question why he decides what he decides, because he's God and he's always right.
I do have faith. I have to say that I do have faith at the end. He's going to work it out the way it's supposed to work out.
Yeah.
But I still got to question you because I don't understand.
And like, that's okay.
Help me.
Yeah.
Help me. I know sometimes he won't reveal all to me, but sometimes I'm like, are you listening? Are you listening to me?
I think we come up with all this stuff that's just not logical. Like, I can have faith and still have questions. You have kids. Your kids like, well, Mom, why? You usually gonna tell them, don't ask me why. So. Just do what I told you to do. Exactly. But sometimes God does that, and sometimes He'll say, okay, this is why, or He'll reveal later why, because sometimes we get too spoiled. We want to be brats. Like, tell me when I tell you to tell me. And God, like, I don't work on your time, man. I don't work for you. You know, we get too like, again, it's that control. Yeah. And if there's anything we need to get rid of, it's pride, ego, and control. It ruins us. It ruins us. Get rid of the control. Why do I have to tell you now?
What is a component of faith for you that without it, you couldn't operate in your purpose?
I think if I didn't have the trust component of it, I wouldn't be able to walk in purpose. Because when you build something from the ground up, you create so many narratives in your head. Like, I create narratives and
I have conversations with my imagination.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. As to why it's not gonna work and why I don't want to do it and this didn't go as planned, but still having the trust to show up and say, okay, this, and I hate the building process. Like, I just wanted to show up to the community of 20,000 women and walk in my gift. Like, yeah, but when you have to build it, it takes a lot of trust that this is the right thing to do and this is my purpose. And the truth of the matter is, I would be miserable without it. And so that trust part of it, I think, is the part that I have to have. Yeah, or I wouldn't make it. So sometimes when I do get irritated at something that's not growing, again, I look at myself first. Well, you haven't been consistent, LaShunna. So how do you expect it to grow at an accelerated rate when you're not consistent? Get consistent. Like, we'll get mad. Well, God, you said I was going to have this, and you said this platform is going to be this. And it's like, yeah, it is. When you decide to get more consistent.
Okay, so we are at the part of our program.
Okay.
It is called Off the Dome segment.
Okay.
So you will pick a question. I will read it, and you will have 60 seconds to answer the question.
All right, let's see. Let me get a good one. Let's see.
I'll read it.
Okay.
What would your Sasha Fierce alter ego name be and why?
would it be Sasha Fierce or Sexy Red? You know, sometimes it's about balance. It's about balance. So let me see. I feel so corny right now. We're gonna go a sexy ambition. We're gonna keep it cute and classy with the ambition, but we're gonna keep a little bit ratchet with the sexy. Balance. Yes.
Okay. So it's about balance.
Yes, about balance.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, LaShunna, for coming and sharing your wisdom about your journey of faith and purpose and what that looks like. And it's not all peaches and cream. It's hard. It's a challenge, and you can question. You can be on that journey and not know all the answers and still trying to figure it out, right? But it's okay. It's okay. So thank you for sharing that with us, and appreciate you so much. And so you did mention your community. What's next for you?
So I'm starting a podcast.
What the what?
It's going to be all about mental health, well-being, women sharing their stories. So it's going to be really good. We're going to really take the mask off. Like, it's not going to be, you know, like, oh, you know, it's all good. No. Yeah, we're going to talk about the really good things. We're going to have some women who are highly successful in their own right, but still authentic. But we're also going to talk about the importance of not just being successful in one area of your life, but also mentally and emotionally. Because I find that there are a lot of successful women who are struggling mentally and emotionally, but they're very high functioning, so they show up well and no one knows the signs. Yeah, so we're going to talk about those things. We're going to be digging really, really deep into those things, or, you know, like, people give surface answers at first, but it's like, no, let's dig deeper and let's really walk away from this being changed, being just better, you know? Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. Looking forward to the podcast and what's coming next. And yes, thank you so much. Now I got to scoot over and give you a big hug.
I know.
Okay.
Love.
I hope you enjoyed our show today. Keep the conversation going. Leave a comment and share with your friends. We would love to hear from you. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. And remember, there's purpose in your story.